Hi guys, Starfox here. Today we're doing a bit of a different video. I'm going to be commentating over some Overwatch 1v1s. The commentary isn't going to be to do with the game. I'm going to be telling you guys about my college experience. But before we hop into that, I just want to say that in this 1v1 and the other 1v1 I do, the health is set to be more, the ammunition you have is more, damage you do is slightly more, and the heroes are completely random. Yeah, so, time to talk about my college life. I went to college in Harlow College exactly, and when I started there I was doing A-levels. I was doing sociology, business, BTEC in law, and my week consisted of 4 days in college. After a little while, about a month, I realised that A-levels weren't the thing for me. I didn't want to constantly do all the work, and loads of people were telling me that they had no weekends off, that they were always doing stuff. And also, one small thing that annoyed me was there was a smart dress code for A-level students only. Because of this, I walked straight through the main reception area, picked up their leaflet, and that day I chose to swap courses. I was going to do a BTEC in public services. This is basically the study of the fire, service, police, ambulance, RAF, Royal Navy and the military. This course was a 2-year vocational course, and as well as that I was going to continue doing my law BTEC. However, after a while I realised that keeping up with the law was very tricky for me. I consider myself to be somewhat smart, but academically wise I wasn't able to handle it, so I dropped out of law, which I didn't actually tell my family at first, and I haven't actually ever told them. So some of them might be listening, and yeah, here's my confession. I'm pretty sure my main family members, my dad and that, know, because they never really mentioned my grade with it. I think they were nice enough to understand that I felt embarrassed and didn't really want to admit that I was struggling as much. But yeah, so I swapped over to the course. Once I was on the course, I met my teachers. One of them was called Paul. He was an old retired police officer. He had seen some insane things in his time, and he also didn't seem all there. He'd always kind of glance off to the side, and whenever he was telling stories, you could kind of see him go from this smiling, almost kind of slightly crazy looking dude to really serious and really intense. And a few times he's told us some stories and kind of apologised after, where he's forgot that he's speaking to students and went into a bit too much detail. He's shown us his scars on his arm from when he's been attacked on the job. He even told us about how he worked on anti-slavery in the neighbouring town of Basildon. It seemed insane what he'd gone through and what he'd experienced. He was a good teacher, but he was lacking in the discipline front a bit. I don't think he really understood how to transfer it from the police to children, but that never really bothered us. We got our work done at the end of the year anyway. My second teacher, Mo, he was from Mauritius. He told us some insane stories about how he was in a band, he was the first person in his village to play guitar, and how he went on a tour all around a few countries, such as India and most of Asia, playing guitar and not really earning money. They were living in a van, and whenever they would go to a place, they'd offer to play for some food and a place to sleep, and he said they did it all summer long, and it was one of the best experiences of his life. He came over to Harlow because he was put on an apprenticeship to learn how to fly, and we had that course. While he was here, he met his wife, and he decided to abandon the course and stay here. He now owns Mauritius, around 21 grand, so he's never returning, he said. I'm not sure how much of that is true, but I like to believe he's a runaway convict from Mauritius that is trying not to get caught. And after only a few weeks of my new course, there was a trip planned to go to the Isle of Wight. Here we were going to be doing things like archery, raft building, team building exercises, basically trying to reenact a experience that you might have in the police, prison service or anything like that when it comes to building team effort and things like that. When we were on the Isle of Wight, it was quite a good experience. We got to all know each other, got to learn to trust each other, and all together had a good time. However, the food. We were served food the size for primary school students, because that's where we were. We were in this very large walled off accommodation in the Isle of the Wight, which was a private school for primary school kids. Here we also met a few people that I met more personally later in life, including one of my best friends to this day, Harvey. He was in an opposite group, and I had no idea he was there till the following year, or even later in that year, when I became acquainted with him. Because of the food being so scarce, at the end of the line you go in to get the food, there was a bowl of fruit, a big basket, and you were supposed to take one, and me being quite resourceful and clever, managed to steal the whole basket back to my accommodation room, where we all ate about 6-7 pieces of fruit just to help get some calories in, some nutrients in, because we were all starving. There was one kid that even ordered a Domino's to the place, hopped over the wall to get it. He was caught and sent home, but hey, at least we got the pizza. On one of these days, one of my classmates, Holly, we were playing netball. She dived for it, missed, landed on her arm funny, and was in a lot of pain for quite a while. She then had to go to the hospital. There was only one on the Isle of Wight. And while I was there, they were able to get outside food, luckily. They had a meal deal from Tesco's, and they said it was the best one they've ever had. When they got back, it was revealed that she had done some tissue damage to her hand. So she was no longer in the running for the sports events, which wasn't as much fun, but she was still able to support us from the sides. After we got back, morale was high between us all, and we'd all made some great friends. Some of these people are still friends to this day. Later in the year we had a challenge, and it was to raise money for a charity. So we managed to raise £110 for St Clair's Hospice, which deal with elderly people. It's a hospice in Harlow. I'd recommend donating money to them. They help a lot of people with therapy sessions and things. We raised this money by me shaving my hair. Now, if you see me in videos, you might have noticed that I have quite long hair. My hair's thick and it goes to about my chin. Back then I didn't have much hair, but it was the best option we had, and so I took the plunge for charity. Shortly after this, I actually ended up meeting Harvey. We met because I went to the smoking shelter, and one of my other friends had met him because they asked for a lighter, and he chilled with us for a while. Then after a while he said that we should play Fortnite together, and I realized that I didn't want to pay for it, and then turned out it was free, and yeah. From there we forged a pretty good friendship, one that we're still friends, evident by the fact that he's currently the person I am playing against. Later in the year, it was winter, and I was out with a few friends in the local woods. We were just going around seeing how it all was, because it was all snowy and things. I ended up having an accident there. I walked too far forward without realising that I was on the river that ran through it. It's only a small one. But yeah, I ended up falling in. However, good twist to this story. A few days prior it was getting so cold, and I used to be quite scrawny, very skinny and very prone to cold, so I went and bought myself a nice pair of Nike thermals. They were on special offer, so that was the reason I bought them as well. And we rushed 20 minutes to my friend's house so I could get my clothes off so I wasn't freezing to death. And because the thermals turned out to be waterproof, they probably really saved me from getting severely ill. I don't think I would have lost my legs there or anything like that, but it really helped with the fact that that meant that my legs were okay. I didn't get any pneumonia or anything, because I was really worried that I would have got severely sick from obviously getting freezing cold water all over my body. And then after that I didn't want to really go out for the winter, which will take us to our next event, which is my friend's A-level photography. For their photography they were doing the end of the world, and me and my friend Jackson, we obliged to help her out. I was the scared victim trying to run away, and he was the murderous wastelander. One of the scariest things I've ever done in my life was having him hold me by my neck while I dangled over the balcony of a roughly 20-story high-rise building that we had also broken into using a crowbar that I owned. Guys, this was one of the most stupid things I've done in my life. Never do anything like that. You can always use effects to make it look like you're higher up. You can do so many different things and tricks, even without using editing software. Don't do what I did. I was insanely stupid, and I could have genuinely ended up getting severely hurt, or worse. Following on from this, came the summer. Summer in Harlow that year was beautiful. It was constantly sunny. I was going out every other day pretty much. We were drinking, we were having parties, and I remember one time me and this girl Jade went to get McDonald's for the group, and we ended up buying so many fries that we decided to pour them in one bag, and it filled up the paper bags that they have about a third of the way. Bear this in mind, there was a group of about 7 of us, so that's why we got so many chips. But the picture, I have it on my phone, it's a glorious photo, and me and my friend Harvey, we ate the majority of them. And we also poured nuggets in the bag, and I'll tell you now guys, having like a McDonald's potluck, so delicious. My drink at this time was a gin and tonic or a spice rub on the rocks. Going into the second year, I started talking to a friend of mine called Adam. He introduced me to TIW martial arts training. That's the school I was under. And we were trained by Steve Amicals, also known as Diddy Kong, a professional, or a now professional MMA fighter. Doing this was a lot of fun. It helped with my mental health, getting my anger out, all them kind of things. And it also meant I felt a bit safer in the streets because Harlow is the second most dangerous place in Essex, next to Basildon. And it was, insane. At this point, I joined a new group in my college class, because the 2 classes joined. And this was with a few people, Haver, Evie, Sam and Nathan. And they were great friends. They were always very supportive, always there, and just a good group of people to be with. I would do things with them after college, we would even go to the gym together, all them kind of things. And I remember one time we all went to a party together, and it just felt nice because they were very inclusive, and just the attitude they had was such a good thing to be around when, in that time, I was struggling quite severely with mental health. Now, I've told you about my other 2 teachers, Mo and Paul, but at this point we got a 3rd teacher that I've got to speak about. Her name was Ruth. She used to work for the RAF as traffic control. She's told us such stories about the time she had to teach her partner, at the time they were engaged, how to restart his plane because he was currently nosediving to the ground, and she said that's the scariest thing that's happened to her. It's insane. She also told us about a time when she worked on a Somalian prison island, and she was taken hostage by him in a riot, and they had a knife up to her throat. This woman is made of steel. She did not take from anyone, and you gotta believe me when I say she was always on it. Her teaching was great. Her attitude was great. Just everything about her. She was a perfect public services teacher, from experience, from how to talk to kids, how to give respect, all of that. All around great teacher. At this point, the year below me had joined, and Harvey had joined that year of public services. He had swapped courses. As well as that, an old friend of mine, Rihanna, also joined my college. Rihanna and me, we've been friends for years. We met in secondary school, found out our parents worked together, and we're pretty much inseparable as friends. We stopped talking for a brief time because we both kind of grew apart, and neither of us thought the other one wanted to still talk. After we started talking to each other again, we introduced each other to our new friends, and the groups just got bigger and bigger. When you were going out, there was always 3 people that you knew. There was always people you're bumping into and meeting new people with, and it was just genuinely quite a nice kind of group to be in. There was never any issues, and everyone got on. It was a perfect group almost. A few of the new people also wanted to join in the MMA. The reason we all stopped going, apart from the fact that I moved away and we stopped going to college, so it was harder for us to go to the gym nearby, was because of an incident that happened with me and another fighter, where I ended up losing a bit of self-control, and I punched him so hard in the chest that I broke his rib. I might play the audio here. I'm not sure how YouTube would like that, so I might not. But if I don't, it was quite bad. He had asthma as well, so he had an asthma attack. And I did stop. I didn't continue once he was on the ground. And that haunted me for a little while, worrying that I could lose my control. Then later I started doing therapy, and in that therapy we got to the root of why I lost control in that moment, and my therapist spoke to me about how it wasn't me losing control, it was me remembering a situation and taking control of that situation, understanding that I didn't want that to happen again, so I was going to stop anything from hurting me and getting to me. He acknowledged that in that state it's not safe for me to be around people, but he did express that there is a way for me to potentially learn to control it a bit more and to kind of channel that into being a more assertive and more confident person, which is what I really needed. Eventually in the group there was a couple of relationships that started and they began to break. Because of this, Civil War style, people chose sides, people picked who they liked more, and unfortunately the group was no more. It kind of feels like what happened in The Walking Dead when all the bands, all the camps separate. It was quite sad, but hey, I still kept some of my best friends, so for me it wasn't much of a loss. Shortly after this I had a party at a family member's house that I was house sitting. I'm also going to apologise now if that family member ever hears this, as it was very disrespectful to have a party at their place. However, the people I invited were those that I knew that if they would drink, wouldn't be the messy drunks, wouldn't be the ones that break stuff and destroy stuff, they'd be the respectful ones that would clean up after themselves. And that is what happened. There was one kid that did get a bit too drunk. He dropped one of the, the kegs you can buy of cider. He dropped one of them and the spout broke and it started pouring. That to me wasn't 100% his fault, that wasn't his intention. And yeah, he went home and apologised to me, so did his partner, and it was all fine. The party went great and everyone just had a nice time. One of my friends even had their other friend round, who was from America, who came to visit, and he wasn't actually going to come to the party because he didn't think I'd let him bring his friend, but I said yes because I trusted this kid, rightfully so. And it was very nice to see him really enjoy himself, and it was really nice to meet some of his friends, because we had only really met him at college. So yeah, getting to know his friends, hear him being spoken about by other people, it was quite good to get a little bit of a backstory and a background into him. Now, I know I said MMA stopped, but we always spoke about fighting, we always wanted to bring it back. One day we went to the arcade, in the bowling alley, and we realised I had a punch machine. So we used to use these punch machines a lot. And we would all test our strength and whatever, you know how they go. We had one kid try to headbutt it and actually got a decent score. Now for me to get my rage back up, I needed someone to hit me in the face again. So I turned to my good friend Harvey. I asked him to hit me in the nose, expecting a light tap. He says okay and swings for me. And it makes me mad. And one of my crowning achievements in my life is I threw a punch that was stronger than our friend Tommy. He is a trained boxer, a professional. I get I'm trained in MMA, but by no way am I... He was basically bred for boxing. Like, this kid was tall, athletic, fit, always worked out. He was ready for boxing. I was nowhere near there. I was just some kid off the street pretty much. And that felt really good, and he gave me so much praise for that. He was so humble about it that it was just so nice to feel that, especially where most of my life, like I said, I felt scrawny, I felt weak and vulnerable. But yet still, knowing that I had the strongest punch, I still felt like I was quite weak. I still felt quite vulnerable, and like my rage and being able to fight was the only thing that really kept me thinking that I was strong and capable. Then came my 18th birthday. August 17th, 2019. That was a messy night to say the least. No, I drank a lot, so did all my friends. We ended up going clubbing, which is not a good idea. Guys, I don't do well in loud, dark places with lots of people. So, I don't know why we chose to go to a club, because that is basically what they are. Walking in there was okay. I saw a few people I actually knew. Alright. And then it got quite bad. I started to feel overwhelmed and I tried to get out and a bouncer tried to grab me. I'm not sure why. I managed to successfully wrestle him off me, and I just ran out the doors and ran. Later, my friends were able to find me, and we taxied back at about, I think, 4 or 5 in the morning. I'll tell you what, my parents were not happy at all. It was a very, very messy night and morning that day. Then, leading up towards the end of college, me and my friend Will wanted to get a tattoo. None of our friends had any, so we took the plunge to get them. I got the worst tattoo ever for my first tattoo. It's a bear trap with a flower behind it on my chest. It looks like a love heart, I've heard. It looks like a Magnum ice cream, I've heard. It looks like a doodle, I've heard. Like, guys, even I don't like this tattoo. I'm going to be getting it covered up at some point, for real. Like, it's so bad that I wanted just to get it covered up with anything and then cover that up with something. Like, it's horrible. There's mistakes on it, and, oh, like, it's a regretful first tattoo. I felt like I was ready to make a choice on getting a tattoo so early as well. Mainly because I had grown up with my mum being covered in tattoos. Like, lots of my mum's side of the family was covered in tattoos. So, like, I kind of grew up knowing a bit more and understanding them a bit more, but hey, good to make dumb choices. What can I say? Kids always think they're maturer than what they are as well. So that's my downfall there. Getting this tattoo as well was quite a hard thing to do, because I had to hide it from my dad's side of the family. My dad, my stepmum, my nan, my step-siblings, none of them knew I had this tattoo. So having a bath, walking out, having to have a towel around my head, around my shoulders, having to rush upstairs, having to always wear a shirt around and one that they can't see my chest in. The thought of going swimming, like, genuinely, they were talking about going back to America, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll bring our swimming costumes. Oh my god, I was terrified of, like, what to think, because I didn't know how to tell them. Realistically, if I were to tell them, they wouldn't be bothered. I just had this, like, stigma in my head of, don't tell them, don't tell them, don't tell them. Now I'm choosing not to tell them, only because I don't think that I want them to know my first tattoo is this bad, because it's kind of like, it's funnily embarrassing. All my friends laugh at it, all my mates joke about it, even my old GM where I worked laughed about it. Yeah, so leaving college, I was working at a Frankie and Benny's about 2 days a week. I had no idea of what I was doing, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. My piece of advice, guys, for you is if you join college, pick something that will work for you. And if you don't know what to do anything. I know someone that dropped out because they didn't know what they wanted to do when they were older, and now they have no college education. I know a few people that didn't know what they wanted to do, sank anyway, and now they're in decent places. Remember that at the end of the day, your family may be mad at you for something you've done, but they are your family. And your family aren't necessarily your mum, your dad, your siblings. My family is Rihanna, Harvey, my partner, my daughter as well. Rihanna's family are like my family. So guys, try and stay positive. Everything's going to be okay. And anyone that needs anything, anyone that needs a chat, just wants to get their mind off stuff, I hope I'm able to give you that. I hope I'm able to inspire you guys to keep on going and push through. Alright guys, I'm going to have to end this video here. I have a question. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? You know, I'd want ultimate armor. And I don't just mean ultimate armor as in like the sense of a shield that will protect me. I want the one from Fullmetal Alchemist. Those of you that don't know what that is, look it up please. Yeah, so let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, if you'd be so lovely to, leave a like. Maybe even subscribe if you want to make my day. You guys have been awesome, thank you so much, and let me know what you think of the commentary over some Overwatch. Alright guys, peace out.
Match point.
How about a little extra?
I was built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on the gas, never stop competing. If you break my glass, then this life's gonna end.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest